What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel that we basically sit down and cover different kinds of comic book stories. Now, today we are going to jump back over to DC Comics and we're going to cover a Before Watchmen book. Before Watchmen Moloch. Now, the reason why we are covering this book is because one of my subscribers has been asking me to cover this book, and here it is. But also, real quick side note, Moloch is a character who was a villain in the Watchmen universe. And so the question is, what happened to this villain before the Watchmen books came out? And so these two books give you that answer, but also give you the origin of the character as well. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories like this in the near future. But let's go ahead and dive into Before Watchmen Moloch. Now, we learn very quickly that Moloch had a very hard upbringing. This is being told to us as he is talking to a pastor from his church about his life. Of course, he started from the very beginning, which of course, his birth. So we learned that when he was born, he was already deformed. He looked so inhuman that his parents kept him, except the fact that they did not spend any time with him like most parents spend time with their children. They gave him clothes, a place to sleep, and of course food to survive. But that was it. We also learned he never had friends in school because he looked so different. None of the children wanted to be friends with him and would just bully him day in and day out. Young Moloch even wrote a Valentine's Day letter to a young girl in his class, and she beats down on him because he is so unhuman looking that she felt that he should not even send her a Valentine's Day letter. And she even tells him that they will never be a couple at all. Then we learn about the first hobby he ever fell in love with, which of course was magic. He sneaks out of his parents' house when the carnival came into town and overhears a great magician performing 5 different shows. Moloch watched this man perform his different magic tricks, and now of course these tricks are not real. Because when it comes to the world of Watchmen, it was a world that was more realistic, and magic does not fit in the bill. And so with that being said, all the tricks this magician did were fake, but still caught the eye of Moloch. You then have Moloch go and ask the man to teach him all of the different tricks he can teach. Of course, he takes these new tricks back to school and starts to show off these new tricks to impress all of his classmates. Everybody seems like they're beginning to like him and wanting him to be around more. This includes the girl he wrote the Valentine's Day card from earlier. Now, this is huge for him because he really did like this girl. And when she goes to him and tells him that she wants to hang out with him one-on-one, he thinks he finally has the girl. That is when he is heading home from school. He overhears her talking to her boyfriend how she's playing a trick on Moloch, that she plans to play a huge prank on him when they meet up. That moment right there just made his mind snap. And this led Moloch down the path of evil, because to get back at her, Moloch kills her boyfriend and then lays the body next to her while she's asleep. As soon as she awakes, her dead boyfriend is right there waiting for her. And this leads Moloch to leaving his home and trying to claim the fame life by being a magician first. Then he faces the problem that none of his shows are producing the money he needs to continue, but also the fame he was hoping to receive. And so he then turns to the life of crime and uses his cheap magic tricks as a way to pull off those crimes. He was able to get a reputation for himself as a real supervillain. And he had the women he wanted, the drugs, and the thugs to support him. And to him, this is the best part of his life. But of course, he runs into another problem. He runs into the Minutemen. Now, for you new people to the Watchmen universe, the Minutemen were a group of people who came before the Watchmen back in the years 1939 to 1949, I want to say. But this tells you when the story takes place. It takes place in the middle of the time where the world still had the Minutemen. But when Moloch had finally had a life where he had the fame, the money, and people kissing up to him, it was all taken away. The Minutemen would always be there when Moloch would try to do something after breaking out of prison. After each breakout, he kept wondering if he should give up being a super villain. This doubt led him to drinking more and wondering if he would ever be able to grab that fame he wanted or grab a life that where people truly did like him. Then he runs into a reality check where he hired a woman to sleep with him. After she does him, he overhears her talking about how ugly he is. And this reminds him that no matter what he does, people will still look at him as a monster because he looks so deformed. Now, this leads to him kind of trying to pull off one more scheme to make more money. That is when he runs into the most powerful person in the Watchmen universe. This gives you an idea of the time jump in this story because he is confronted by Dr. Manhattan, one of the members of the Watchmen, and we are possibly a little after the year 1959 because that is when Dr. Manhattan first appeared in the Watchmen timeline. But with Moloch running into Dr. Manhattan, it was the quickest battle ever because Dr. Manhattan has godlike powers and threw him in jail in a matter of seconds. And this leads to us right back in the beginning of the story, the present day, and where we saw Moloch talking to the Reverend from a church, where Moloch told him what led him up to this moment in life, and what finally made him start believing in God. That last battle with Dr. Manhattan pushed him to finally have faith in God. But this is where we learn that he is leaving prison once again. Except this time, he is not breaking out of prison. Someone was able to get him out early on parole. And that one person who was able to make it happen is Ozzie Manias. Now, this is huge because Ozzie Manias was the one who was the true bad guy in the Watchmen series. He was trying to bring world peace in one of the most messed up ways, which if you have not read the Watchmen books, go read them. Ozzie Manias is also the smartest person in the world, plus the richest man in the world as well. And so he always had different plans to throw out. And so with him being here right now, it is obvious that he has another plan up his sleeve. And of course, it involves Moloch. And we see the beginning of his plans when he gives Moloch a job at his office. But some of the things he says and does for Moloch automatically tells you something is going to happen. He gives Moloch a job at his office, but the twist is that he gives Moloch an office where he is able to not be seen by anyone. We then learn what the job Ozzie Manias is giving over to Moloch. He tells Moloch that he has a team working on a machine to make a clean, pure energy for the world. Moloch's job is to look over different equations to make sure his team has their math equations right. And so basically just finding errors in different equations. This is why I say Ozzie Manias is doing all of this does not make sense, because if you are the smartest man in the world, then why would you need someone to do this for you? We confirm that Ozzie Manias is up to something when Moloch brings up what he had found wrong in the last few equations. Because after Ozzie Manias looks at Moloch's findings, he gives Moloch an errand to run, to deliver a certain package over to a Janie Slater. Now, Janie Slater is a very important character because she ties into the origin of Dr. Manhattan. She was the girlfriend of Dr. Manhattan, and she was the reason why Dr. Manhattan gained his powers. When he was working on his project, he left a gift for her in the testing chambers, the same one he accidentally got locked up in and turned him into the godlike man he is today. And so now the question is, what is the gift that Ozzie Manias is making Moloch deliver over to Janie Slater? This leads to Moloch delivering the package over to Janie Slater, and we come to find out that the package is just a box full of cigarettes. This is where we learn that Ozzie Manias has told her that if she smoked these, she will slowly get better over time from whatever disease she has. Now we know that usually smoking could lead to lung cancer. And so right now, this statement seems a little bit backwards when she said it to Moloch. But you have Moloch and Janie Slater both agree that Ozzie Manias is an honest man. And now we pick up with Moloch right now visiting a doctor, and he tells him how lately he has been sick. And a lot of different things have been happening to him. But this leads to the doctor telling him, don't worry, it is a minor infection or the flu. Just take some meds and you will be okay. As soon as Moloch leaves, we see Ozzie Manias is there, and we see the doctor is also helping out with this evil plan. Before we learn why, we pick up with Moloch at home, and overnight he sees blood, and that makes him call up the doctor right back up to tell him what had happened to him. And this leads to the doctor telling Moloch that he has cancer, and basically it is at a stage where there is no chance of stopping it. That is when we find out that Ozzie Manias planned this, because in the desk Moloch has been using at work, inside one of the locked containers, there was a tablet-sized block of radiation in there. Exposure to radiation for a very long period of time, that can lead to cancer. But when Moloch does not know that he still thinks this is God's plan. Ever since he met Dr. Manhattan, Moloch has been on this God's path. Now Ozzie Manias tells Moloch that he is going to pay for every single medical bill, and that Moloch can just stay at home and get better. This is Ozzie Manias painting himself as an honest man. And then we jump right before the Watchmen #1 book. And the reason why I say that is because we pick up with Moloch back at home trying to rest up and hoping to beat this cancer. But while he's in bed, he is greeted by the comedian. Now the comedian is another character who was a vigilante, but he was part of both the Minutemen group in the 1940s and also part of the Crime Busters as well, which was the group that was formed by the characters you saw from the Watchmen that came out years later after the Minutemen. And so he has the longest career as a crime fighter, but he was the one who learned about all of Ozzie Manias' plans that you saw in the Watchmen book, where Ozzie Manias was trying to bring world peace by faking the end of the world with an invasion. Now the comedian learned about all of Ozzie Manias' plans, including Moloch. He tried to warn Moloch, but could not get out the words. And when Moloch goes to tell Ozzie Manias about the visit, we pick up with Watchmen #1, where the comedian is now dead by being thrown out the window. And this leads to a crazy conclusion of this story, where Moloch is at home watching the news. And while he is watching the news, they are conducting an interview with Dr. Manhattan. This is where you have the reporter ask the question, does Dr. Manhattan let out a constant amount of radiation out of his body? The reason why this is being asked is because Janie Slater died from lung cancer. who was again the ex-girlfriend of Dr. Manhattan. The finger is being pointed at him, which in reality we know she got lung cancer because of Ozzie Manias kept feeding her cigarettes to smoke. Then the reporter goes on to ask about Moloch, stating he has cancer now too. And this is huge because to Moloch, no one was supposed to know about it. You look up and then you see that somehow that piece of information got leaked out. That is when Ozzie Manias appears and tells him that one of his plans is to make Dr. Manhattan look bad, using Janae and Moloch, which is the icing on the cake. And then the story closes with Ozzie Manias killing Moloch, but making it look like it was a suicide. And this is where we are going to end today's video. So guys, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here and I will see you on the next comic book video. Later, guys.